My guests tonight are both Connecticut Healthy Workplace Advocates, and if you watch the show, you'll know what that means. Dr. Kathy Hermes and Ms. Lillian Dickerson. Kathy has been on the show before. She's a professor at CCSU, and Ms. Lillian, I think, is known by everyone in New London County as a community activist. And the subject of the show is workplace bullying, the problems and the solutions. So welcome.
Thank you.
I guess I'll ask each of you how you got involved with workplace bullying advocacy.
For me, I first got involved when my best friend, somebody I'd known since childhood, committed suicide as a result of workplace bullying. And she was a federal employee out in California, and I was her executor. And as I learned more about it, I decided I wanted to become an advocate for reform in the law.
And how long ago was this?
She died in 2005.
So you've been at it for quite a long time.
Quite a while, still no law, but we're working on it.
And Ms. Lillian?
Well, for me, it's I got involved when a loved one of mine was impacted by workplace bullying. She was a target, and now as being a target, the bullying created victims. You know, people who loved her dearly, and that's why I'm involved.
Would you say that most people get involved because they know someone, or, you know, they see the impact day in, day out, or?
I think as a coordinator of Connecticut Healthy Workplace Advocates, I do hear a lot from targets. But often, when it comes to advocating, targets are too damaged to advocate for themselves. And so they really depend on people like their family members and friends to help them advocate, to be their voices.
I guess what is workplace bullying? I guess.
Okay, well, there are a couple definitions. The legal definition that we're pushing for is abusive conduct. We don't even really call it bullying in the model Healthy Workplace Bill. Verbal abuse, belittling, humiliation, intimidation, work sabotage, and the exploitation, the purposeful exploitation of a known physical or psychological vulnerability. And we'll be putting this in real terms soon. But, you know, and I think in the law, what we're looking for is what would a reasonable person think is abusive, humiliating, intimidating. For a psychological definition, it can be a lot more subjective. I think if you're really just talking person to person, as opposed to in the courtroom.
And I'm guessing it all has sort of a chronic component. It isn't just a one-time someone snaps at you or belittles you once.
No, it's the character of the person who does this. You know, it's repetitive. I guess, it's a grandioso. You know, it's people feel that in order to elevate themselves, they have to stand on somebody's back and belittle them.
Now, I think we've heard a lot about workplace bullying among people in state employment and government employment.
Yes.
Is it a particular problem in governmental employment, or is it true throughout all kinds of workplaces?
Well, I think it is a particular problem in government employment. As you know, you're talking about the culture, the nature of an agency, you know, where you might have, there might be a lot of nepotism and cronyism taking place, and the person who's doing the bullying is protected because of the relationships that they have with their human resources department. And, you know, it's not taken serious. But the sad part about it is when in government, the taxpayers have to pay for the legal representation of those who are doing the bullying. And it's really sad when these people are repeated, their actions, you know, it's not an aberration, you know, but this is what they do all the time. And when the taxpayers have to pay for their legal representation, it's really not fair. You know, if the governor wants to save money, you know, he wants to fix the budget, he should go right there.
Pass the healthy workplace.
Yep. Yes.
Now, how frequent a problem is it?
About 35 to 37% of the American workforce has been bullied at some point in time, according to research by the Workplace Bullying Institute and Zogby International. So at any one point in time, maybe about 1 out of 6 workers is being bullied. But 37% have been bullied to the point of health harm at some time in their life. And 50% of workers have experienced it in some way. Because when you add to that 37% the bystanders and,
yes.
the people who witnessed it in their offices, it affects a lot more people.
And I imagine also the friends and families of the target.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It has a collateral damage. You know, not only is the targeted person injured, but the family, the wholeness of the family is destroyed. When you're witnessing your loved one, you know, not being the same person that they were before, and you know, you witness the mental health damage, the physical damages that they experience.
Now, you mentioned the term health harm. Specifically, what kind of harm to people's health does workplace bullying seem to lead to?
Well, regarding the mental health, you know, they become very depressed. They're not the same person that they were prior to the attack. And it does manifest into physical, you know, medical conditions such as fibromyalgia, loss of hair. There are just many.
I mean, people's blood pressure
Oh, definitely.
goes up. The risk of, particularly in older workers, and older workers are often targets, risk of heart attack,
Yes.
migraines, loss of appetite,
Sleep.
deprivations. And I'm not talking abstractly here. I mean, my friend who was bullied in 2005 committed suicide. She went from being about 100, she was 5'8", 5'9", and she went from being about 140 pounds to weighing 105 pounds at the time of her death, was sleeping only 3 hours a night. So the effects are quite real. And I think you know someone who's lost her hair.
Lost hair, appetite, can't eat. You know, and this was a vibrant person, and this person wanted to do things with her life, and she's pretty young, you know, and she was torn down very deeply.
Well, you know, we see, you know, from our soldiers that come back, post-traumatic stress, but it seems like there's a lot of traumatic stress at home as well.
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's diagnosis of, you know, individuals who suffer from workplace bullying, you know, having post-traumatic stress, and, you know, the prognosis might take a couple of years to, you know, for the cure, for them to be cured of it.
Now, are doctors at all tuned into this kind of thing, or a lot of the targets sort of left on their own?
I think post-traumatic stress disorder has become more understood in the last 20 years since the Iraq wars and the wars that are going on now. And it's been more understood with respect to soldiers. I think it's still a mystery a bit when it comes to what I would call intimate violence, the kind of domestic violence or workplace violence, workplace bullying that happens. But I know that a professor at the University of Connecticut, Vicki Magley, who works in occupational, psychology, spoke about people who are bullied and why some people seem to do better than others. And what she said is basically we all have coping skills. Some are stronger. Some have stronger coping skills. They're not stronger people, but they have stronger coping skills than other people. And they will cope better for a while. But no matter what, if the bullying continues, no matter how good your coping skills, you will feel the effects of bullying.
Yes, you will.
Eventually.
So the relentlessness will just catch
Yes,
up to
it
you
does
in
catch up.
time,
Yeah,
however you
yeah,
started out.
That's right.
Now, what would you say the state of workplace bullying is in Connecticut?
Well, since 2006, the Labor and Public Employees Committee has been thinking about the issue. Senator Edith Prague, who just retired, was a champion of trying to pass a healthy workplace bill, and she introduced it a couple of times. It didn't ever make it to a full vote of the House or the Senate. There were also study bills introduced to try to see about the prevalence of workplace bullying among state workers. Those bills also didn't pass.
No, they didn't.
Frankly, I think we don't need to study it. We know it's happening. We've had studies.
Yeah.
And what we need is the healthy workplace bill.
And we have a phone call.
Okay.
Hi, thanks for calling.
Hello, how you doing today?
Hi.
Good, good, good. I was just listening to the show. My name's Neil Dias, and I wanted to say that I'm very happy that you're actually having a show on workplace bullying.
Oh,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Thanks for calling, Neil.
Good, good, good. And they were talking about the healthy workplace bill, and it is very vital. And I hope that everybody does everything that they can possibly do to get this law passed, because it's very vital to every single individual and our children going into the workplace in the future. So it is a very critical bill that is demolishing the morale of the individuals all over this country. So I credit you for bringing this awareness and putting this show on, and all the advocates and Kathy and everybody else down in Connecticut. I think she's doing a terrific job, and I'm very proud of her. And I thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you very much for calling.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I will continue to listen to your show. So
Okay, thank you.
Rana,
Yes.
put him on
Thank you.
hold, 'cause he wants to be able to hear it also.
Okay.
The big red hold button.
Yep.
Hit that one.
Okay. And we have another phone call.
Put him on hold first.
Okay.
I think I did. I hope. I hope this works. Hi, thanks for calling. Hello? I'm not sure what happened to phone line 2.
Oh,
Phone line 2 is there. He should be there.
Yeah,
Red.
it should be. Can the phone caller hear us? I guess you can try again. Okay. Thanks for calling. No?
Unhit the hold.
Hello, is this Kathy?
Oh,
Yeah.
hi. Kathy's here.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I was a little late to the show. Am I speaking to Kathy?
Yes.
Hi, Kathy. My name is Michael Mursky. I'm one of the people that would like more awareness to be brought to the workplace bullying in the state of New Jersey.
Right, Mike, I remember from I know you from Facebook.
Isn't Facebook wonderful?
Yeah.
That's a good way.
I was just wondering what we could do to try to coordinate the 22 some odd states that are trying to pass legislation on the healthy workplace bill, and how we could cross-support each other.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. And we have spent most of the first 10 or 15 minutes of the show talking about the problems, so maybe we can start talking about how to deal with it.
Right. The Healthy Workplace Bill, by the way, I just want to refer people, if you Google or Yahoo or whatever you do, Healthy Workplace Bill, you will come to a website that will show you about the law, where you can see this brochure more closely. 23 states have introduced the Healthy Workplace Bill. it's a state-by-state effort because the law is a tort law, personal injury law, right? Where so states govern that. It really can't be a federal law, but we certainly can work together to try to coordinate passing it. And we have a group of coordinators that work through the Workplace Bullying Institute in Bellingham, Washington, and we sign a code of conduct, and we agree to lobby for this particular version of the bill and to be advocates. I think that it's sometimes hard to get together. We have different social networking skills, so some people are on Facebook, some people aren't. But I think that we do need to start probably having some regional conferences and a lot more outreach. One of the things that's a problem, of course, is we really are a grassroots movement.
We are, definitely.
You're poor. You know, our cards, our business cards are made from, from Staples. And so I think one thing is that I think that we need to be communicating in using the most economical ways that we can. So doing more public access shows to get the word out.
And the social networking is so great because I've met a lot of people via Facebook through social networking who hold the same concerns about workplace bullying that I hold, you know, and it's been powerful. I met you this summer for the first time, but we had been in contact with each other via Facebook, and I feel it's very important, you know, to define what it is, to let people know that you got to take an action. You can't just stand there and see something happening because, you know, it affects society. It does, you know. Workplace bullying affects on the targets and the victims. Workplace drama in most cases tends to be a devastating effect on a target's productivity, emotional and physical health. The victims waste time, between 10 to 52% of their time, working to defend themselves against their abusers. And it results in an increase of absences due to stress-related illnesses. The trauma of the experience leaves them confused, helpless, and paralyzed. It tends to suddenly be overwhelming, as if it owns the person. And in some cases, targets become victims of post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, unfortunately, some people feel that there's really nothing wrong with people who claim to have been traumatized in the workplace, and will even go as far as to say, oh, there's nothing wrong with these victims. In fact, most believe that if they would just do their job right, you know, it'll go away, but that's not the case.
Well, I'm thinking that the networking might be particularly powerful just because it can be such an isolating experience.
Exactly.
Yes.
Somebody who's going through what Laura Lillian just described feels like they're the only person experiencing this.
Yes.
It's never happened to them before. They may not remember ever witnessing it. And on a social networking site, Mike and Neil I both know from Facebook, right?
Neil.
And we go to each other's sites. So I look at the New Jersey site and the Virginia site, and all of these, and Massachusetts and New York, and I interact with them, so I know what's going on everywhere, and I feel supported. Because as Laura Lillian said, I'm a victim too. Yeah. My best friend died. She didn't have to.
She didn't have to at all.
And I'm hurt. And a lot of her family and friends are hurt.
And coworkers, they're afraid, to intervene, because they're afraid that if they do, then the abuser will start attacking them.
Yeah, they'll be the next target.
They'll be the next target, but they are impacted because workplace bullying is evil. Mm-hmm. Point blank, it's evil. It creates an evil environment. It's counterproductive. and it needs to be addressed. You know, and I think that the more information that we get out there, the better off, you know, the better off we'll be able to address this. You know, we do need to pass a healthy workplace bill. It's very important.
Hi, I don't know if I'm still on the line.
You are.
Has there, because I know personally from my own experience, stress at my previous employer, unfortunately, my outlet was to take it out on my wife.
Yes.
I know that there's been studies on, you know, the individual and how it affects, you know, the individual's health and, you know, mental stability, et cetera, but has there been any studies on how it affects the family of the person being bullied, such as, like I just stated?
I can't name those studies for you, although if you go to the Workplace Bullying Institute site, they do have a section on the website that addresses studies. But the impact on families has been documented. Divorce rates
I just think that it needs to be, you know, brought out more prevalent because, unfortunately, you know, stress in the workplace, you know, our easiest target and our outlet, unfortunately, is our family because we come home stressed and we vent on the easiest target we can, you know, spouse and children. And it just, you know, it's not only affecting just that person's individual, it's affecting wife, husband, children's psyche, mental stability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It does have a rippling effect.
Thank you very much on this.
Thank you for calling.
It does have a rippling effect. I am so saddened, you know, with what had happened to my loved one and her children. You know, the family is, you know, like torn apart. And it was for no reason at all. And, you know, this person was so vibrant, you know, very, very intelligent. And I think that was the reason why she was attacked in the first place. You know, there's no limits to what an abuser will go to attack somebody. But I feel that it's incumbent upon the employer, you know, to stop it, to address it, especially in state service.
I've had I've had targets call me, and they and a lot of them will say, you know, my spouse just can't take it anymore. I cry all the time, and they tell me I have to cheer up or I have to buck up, and I think even sometimes the most understanding families finally reach a limit. In part, they've lost health insurance, so they can't get family therapy or counseling. There's not a lot of public understanding about the effects of workplace bullying, so it's not widely understood what the effects are going to be. And frankly, we're not the most sympathetic society. I have to say.
No, we're not really very supportive from cradle to grave. We're not.
Right. I mean, I love America, but I don't think Americans are culturally very supportive. We tend to be more individualistic and sometimes critical of one another.
Now, I was wondering how it filters down to the children and into school places, you know, whether it leads to bullying or poor achievement or whatever, even, you know, within the public school systems.
Well, you know, bullying begins in the playground. You know, and if it's not addressed at that point in time, it just moves on to the corporate, you know, room, you know, or maybe in, you know, your state or your clerical offices. And I do want to point out that according to a 2010 report by the Connecticut Permanent Commission on the Status of Women, 58% of the perpetrators of bullying are women. And that, you know, and that's really, really sad. 58%.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to say most of the targets of bullying are women too,
as well.
Although men are also targeted.
Yes, they are.
And I think sometimes for men, it's also there are other problems that come into it because men are not usually the victims of domestic violence. They have a little harder time expressing their distress at intimate violence, and especially if it's happening to them by a woman. Can be the kinds of stress and humiliation can can be quite different and unusual for them.
And men often don't have the same kind of social network around them.
Not the same kind of supportive,
Yeah.
network that women do.
Now, I guess I want to think a little bit about, now that it's on the radar screen, what the solutions are, in terms of help for targets and workplaces, and, what's happening to make this better.
Well, I hope we're going to have a legislative session in 2013.
If there are any legislators out there listening.
Yeah.
Healthy workplace bill. We have a model bill that was authored by Professor David Yamada of Suffolk Law School in Massachusetts. This bill has been introduced in 23 states. It has been introduced in Connecticut before, so we're really hoping that the new co-chairs of the Labor Committee pick it up and run with it. I hope to be able to speak with them. We're certainly going to do a lobby day in Connecticut at the legislature. We want to tell people, don't be afraid to contact your legislators.
That's right.
If you don't know how to, you just Google my name, Kathy Hermes. You can find me. I will tell
And
you.
you'll be able to find me
Yes.
as well. Yeah.
Yes, and you can look up workplace bullying,
Yes.
healthy workplace bill. There are several Facebook sites and websites that are addressing
It's on
this
the radar.
issue.
It's on the radar.
Now, what specific provisions does the bill have that would help the problem on all these different levels?
Well, first of all, the bill tries to deal with intentional bullying. So I want to make it clear, the person who is a crank, just
that's
a
not-
curmudgeon, a jerk even, is not the person that the bill is aimed at, right? This is the person who is abusive. And I think it's really important to remember that intentionally abusive knows the harm he or she's causing to the target.
And if it's repetitive, it's not,
repetitive.
repetitive. If they have a history of doing it, it needs to be addressed.
Right. One very severe instance might be enough, but usually it is repeated behavior.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what the law does is it allows for the target to bring a lawsuit, and the burden on the target is to prove that there has been, first of all, health harm, right? So if you've been bullied and this has not hurt you yet in terms of your health, well, you're not damaged in any way, you can't sue. So this isn't going to create a lot of lawsuits.
Right.
But if your health has been harmed, and then if you've suffered any damages, any economic repercussions, you've lost days at work, or you've been wrongfully terminated, or those kinds of things, you can be compensated for that. And so the bill also allows the target to sue both the business or the employer
And the individual.
and the bully.
Yeah.
But both the businesses and the bullies have what we call affirmative defenses. And this is, I think, important for people who are worried that it's going to have a negative effect on business growth or business opportunity. First of all, if an employer has taken steps to ensure that once they're made aware of bullying, it stops, the employer is out of the lawsuit, right? They have an affirmative defense if they can show that. The bully, or the alleged bully, rather, if they can show that all they were doing was exercising their reasonable functions of their job, say in making an evaluation or disciplining an unproductive worker, that's an affirmative defense. So supervisors are still going to be able to write pink slips for employees who are not doing their jobs. And the bill tries to, I think, set up this balance, I think in a very reasonable way, where if a reasonable person would understand that this is intentional bullying, and you can see that the plaintiff has had their health harmed, and then has suffered economic harm as a result of that, then they can be compensated. And businesses have a defense if they've tried to take action.
So if someone is starting to suffer physical harm, it would be their task to start documenting,
Yes,
I'm guessing.
that's very
Document-
important to document.
Even now, without
Yeah.
a law, I always tell targets when they call me, see a physician, talk to a therapist, right? The physician, because your health is going to change, and get a baseline and know what that is. And a therapist, because you are going to be facing stress that you've never faced before. And yes, you need to write everything down.
Now, how much time usually passes between when a target starts figuring this is a real problem and when they have enough evidence to bring a suit?
Well, I think we don't know about that because it's not, no one can bring suits yet. The law hasn't been passed in any state.
Okay.
I mean, I think that what we see is generally people start to feel symptoms. I think I saw one study that said around 16 to 18 months into a bullying situation, the symptoms will be so severe that the person will be ready to quit. Now, some people hang in there much longer, and I've known
Because they
people-
have no choice.
That's right.
Sure.
I mean, I've known people 15 years in.
Yeah.
Right. But generally, about 16 to 18 months.
Now we have another phone call. Hi, thanks for calling. You're on the air. Or maybe not.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Hit 2.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. This is Neil. I've been listening to your call, and I mean, you're doing a great job, absolutely spectacular. I just want to let you know that Kathy knows my story, and my story is very long, so I'm not going to get into that. But what I've learned is I started to witness bullying, and when I was a high-level manager of Verizon, and I started to witness the bullying years ago. And what happens is when I went out to try to stop it and try to bring it to the attention of some people higher up, they did nothing for it. They actually, I had to go to meetings and I actually watched how they incited it, how they pushed it on. And what happened is it ended up coming full face back to me. And long story, there's a lot of things that happened. I ended up getting wrongfully terminated, and actually I have trial against Verizon in March. But the point of the matter is, I ended up starting my own campaign nationally because of workplace bullying that I witnessed and I saw it, and I received thousands and thousands of stories. And that's how I got to meet Kathy and speak in New York and Connecticut and Massachusetts and Washington at the National Workplace Bullying Institute with Gary and Amy. But what it does to a family is devastating. What it does to an individual is devastating. I was a former Marine. I have 2 degrees. I worked my way up to the top of the company in Verizon where I would be flown into New York City and limoed in and taxied back out. So I don't want to say just an average. I was a person striving. Never in a million years someone could have ever told me that I would be doing what I am today. But the devastation to a family is beyond. The devastation to the individual is beyond. It demoralizes you. It strips you from everything that you become a shell. And that's what's happening to people. I sit and I listen to people. I speak to people. It brings you to tears, the stories of good people that were told that they have to go out and give a good day's work. They'll come home. They'll be able to support their family with dignity and doing the right things and have good values and moral and do all the right things every day to be stripped from stuff because they're being bullied and harassed at work and nobody tends to do anything. And the misconception about the bill, because it is a great bill, and the reason why I think we're having a hard time passing it because everybody thinks it's about suing, and it's not about suing. Most people want their job. They really, truly want their job. I wish I still had my job. I wish I wouldn't be where I am today. I went from making a 6-figure income to $16.20 an hour. I've lost my credit's gone. I'm in pre-foreclosure. I can't pay one bill. I'm in and out of court because I can't pay bills. I've never been like that in my life. I worked my way up to build my credibility and respect. But the misconception is nobody wants to sue. Most people don't. All they want to do is go to work, be left alone, and do the right thing for the companies they truly work for and truly are dedicated until someone comes along and decides that they're going to control their future and their lives. So the bill is really to maintain that stability, to hold people accountable.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, Neil, that, you know, although the bill is going to give people the right to sue under certain circumstances, it's going to be for those circumstances that really have gotten out of control.
Right.
And I think, you know, we've seen with sexual harassment laws that you really can turn workplaces around. This
It's got a preventive effect.
Right.
Yeah, it does, you know, because, you know, in workplace, in sexual harassment matters, you know, maybe the boss or the employer might not want to do something, but if there's a law that makes them do something, then,
That's right.
you know,
Right.
it's taken care of.
You're exactly right. And what happens is, majority of people out there, there's a law for speeding and murder and everything. So there's people that, and good people are not going to make that extra step. There's more people you'll be able to control with laws than bad people. So the fact of the matter is, it's going to maintain stability in the workplaces. That's what this law is about. Now, most people are going to sit there and say, I'm going to be held accountable at a high level, or, you know, I'm going to back off. I'm not going to be vindictive. I'm not going to be retaliatory. I'm not going to intentionally inflict harm. And they're going to sit back. It's only going to create productivity in the workplace, better harmony, and more people getting along. It will reduce lawsuits. It will reduce all this useless grievances and everything else in the workplace. That's what this bill does. And if God's willing, is that God forbid something happens to that's at the highest level of abuse of behavior in the workplace, it gives people the opportunity, because believe me, I've been fighting this case for 9 years, and I know the work and what it's done to me and my family. It stripped me from somebody that I believe I could achieve the world to somebody that has no confidence at all no more. I know that. So this bill is only going to help everybody. It's going to help your children and my children. When they go into corporate America, they won't have to go through what I went through and so many people around this country.
Yeah. I mean, I think you bring up another good point, which is businesses are going to do better. They're going to waste less money, waste less time, have a better environment.
More productivity, of course.
And, you know, less
That's
of a
right.
turnover, you know, but I do want to say, you know, in state services, this is what I have observed, that the bulliers, they have, it's because of the culture, the environment, you know. You have a lot of nepotism and cronyism in some agencies where the bullier is overlooked.
Yeah.
You know,
It's probably a downside of state service where some people stay in their jobs for very long times.
Yeah, they stay in their job for very long times, and they create this chaos. But I would like to mention again that the taxpayer pays for the legal representation of these people who bully.
Right.
You
So
know,
we're all
but
paying, even if we don't know it.
Right.
you're paying for it, you know, and so, you know, that has, you know, I think that the state of Connecticut has to be held accountable, you know, for this.
Well, and you know, Neil works for a large private corporation. We both are state employees. And the one thing I think you see is that it can become very entrenched in these places where people are highly educated, people are highly dedicated. I have yet to meet a target who didn't love their job before the bullying started. They have pensions, they have health insurance. So a lot of things keep them in that job and lock them in that job. And part of it's love of the job, and part of it's
Economic needs.
Economic need, and that allows, if the employer is not doing things to make a healthy workplace, then it allows for a workplace to become toxic.
Yes.
If you get the wrong employee in there.
Now, so we have about 10 minutes. So in terms of the legislative action, where do we stand and what can we do about it?
Okay, so I want to urge everybody to write or call their legislator. I mean, this is sometimes different, just a different thing to do for most people. Many people have never, ever contacted a government official for anything, right? But if you go online and you write in Connecticut General Assembly, the website will come up and there'll be a link that says find your legislator. You put in your address, the names come up, and all you need to say to them is essentially, I think there should be a law against abusive conduct at work.
And that's all.
Or the healthy, you know, I think the healthy workplace bill should be enacted, and you don't need to elaborate on
No,
it.
you don't. It's very simple because, you know, most of them know that this is, you know, on the horizon. That
Yes.
This is coming up.
This is a small
there?
point, but you mentioned that protected classes don't apply. This is just, everyone is an individual
right,
based
yes.
on their experiences.
Right.
Yes.
This law is different from some civil rights or harassment legislation in that it protects, it doesn't single out classes of people. And what I mean by that is in sexual harassment, right? It's based on sex. We have other sort of Title VII protections, race, religion, ethnicity, etc. What this bill does is it looks at the behavior of the bully, right?
So the target really, it doesn't matter.
It
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can have red hair, brown hair, blue eyes. You know, you can be tall, short, fat, skinny. Whatever the thing is, it's not really about the target. It's about what the bully's doing.
Yes.
Right? The behavior of the bully. And because a lot of times, I mean, sometimes it's very clear. There's racial discrimination going on or racial harassment.
Yes.
Sometimes that's very clear. Most of the time, in fact, it's 4 times more likely that you have no idea why the bully is doing what he or she is doing.
And actually, you don't really need to psychoanalyze your bully. You just
No.
need to get it to stop.
In fact,
Yes.
I think this is the one thing I find that what everybody says is, I just want it to stop. I just want to go
true.
back to work.
That's what my loved one, you know, wanted. She wanted it to stop.
And you said also it was typical that she left her job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they start doubting themselves. Oh, what did I do wrong? I did something wrong, you know, and they have self-guilt. Their esteem is, you know, totally obliterated, you know, and
We have to work to stop this kind of thinking on the part of targets.
yes,
That, and sometimes a lot of the psychological literature or the self-help books
yes,
kind of reinforce this idea that there's something the target could have done,
yes,
that the target could have changed. In fact, there's a
Yeah.
recent article in Psychology Today that sort of suggests that if you behave in a different way,
yeah,
let me tell you, this
Yeah.
this is not true. It's the same way with domestic violence
Yeah.
as it is with workplace bullying. It's not the target.
And
It's the bully.
And
Yeah.
really, there's really no such thing of mediation. You cannot mediate this.
No.
And that's also true as in domestic violence, that
Yeah,
getting
the two people together in a room is worse than,
Yes.
yet more damaging.
Yes, I mean, when I was in law school in the 1980s, one of the things I did was I volunteered for the city of Durham to be a mediator. And our first lesson was you never mediate a situation in which there's violence. And it doesn't matter if that violence is physical or psychological. The minute you detect violence, mediation is out.
and I will say that workplace bullying is a violent act.
Yes. Not covered, though, by workplace violence laws, and don't be fooled by that.
Yes.
Workplace violence laws will often talk about psychological harm, but short of a physical assault that accompanies the psychological harm, they won't prosecute under workplace violence laws.
So we need this healthy workplace.
We do, we absolutely.
Okay, so if people want to help, what else can they do besides call their legislators?
One of the things they can do is, I think, help educate other people about it. So now you've learned that there's this problem, workplace bullying. You may have witnessed it. You may have been a target. You need to start educating your friends and family about it. One of the ways you can do this, if you like to write short letters to the editor,
Yes.
to the editors of newspapers, that would be a big help. Just talking to your neighbors, talking to your friends about the problem. If you hear somebody saying, you know, I just can't hear one more story from my boyfriend about what's happening at work, try to feel that situation out and say, you know, have you ever heard of workplace bullying? Do you know that your boyfriend might be bullied, might be a target?
Yes.
And you need to be understanding.
And if you see it on the job, if you are a witness to it, we have to do something about it. You know, you can't remain silent. You have to say something about it.
Right.
So if we can get, you know, the country, America, to realize that it's okay, you know, to say something. Actually, it's your duty.
Yeah.
I feel that it's your duty. If you see somebody being harassed, denigrated, degraded, you know, humiliated, if you see that happening in your workplace, open up your mouth and say something about it.
One of the things
We're down to our last 3 minutes. I'm just going to warn you.
Okay, so I just want to say that a lot of times people feel that if they stand up for the target, that they themselves will become targets. There is not really evidence for this. It may happen in some cases. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the evidence is almost overwhelming that if you stand up, that you are likely to have as much pushback effect on the bully as to have any kind of.
So it's more likely to help than to make
It
things
is
worse.
more likely to help, especially if it's an early intervention, and that can be just something as simple as if I see Rana being bullied, that I let it be known I don't approve.
Yes.
Now, in the last 2 minutes, you have some stuff here on the table, and we can't zoom in on it, but where can a person get a button that talks about, you know, passing the healthy workplace?
So if you go to the Workplace Bullying Institute website, run by Dr. Gary and Dr. Ruth Namey, they have buttons. This one says Workplace Bullying Breaks Hearts, and there are a number of different buttons that they have. This one says pass the anti-bullying healthy workplace bill.
And this says work shouldn't hurt.
Work shouldn't hurt. And the Workplace Bullying Institute just has an amazing array of, you know, bumper stickers.
We see some T-shirts here as well.
T-shirts. I made these T-shirts. If you want a green T-shirt, you can.
And we have
But this is
a mug.
available, and a lot of T-shirts are available through the Workplace Bullying Institute site and on Cafe Press. And also, if you want educational materials, a lot of flyers. We have the studies that were done that you might be able to just see a little bit here, that there are graphs that show the prevalence of workplace bullying and how much it costs employers and things like that. So a lot of good graphics if you want to educate people about it.
So people can just go to workplacebullying.org or
Just put that in the website and it'll come up.
it'll come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming
Thank
on.
you for having us.
I'm glad to have you, and good luck with getting a bill passed this year. It seems like we're past due for it.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Rana.
Yeah, thanks for coming down, and we'll be back next week, still Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So we'll see you then.